is Ramesh Bhashyam. I would like to thank Mr. Subramaniam and ISS team for providing a wonderful opportunity. In this digital transformation era, technology paves a way for the growth of the economy. One of the emerging technologies is evolving around the world across globally, namely artificial intelligence and management systems. Most of the multinational giants, including large-scale organizations, already they enjoying the essence of AIMS. Fine. But when it comes to security, there is a bottleneck. Before implementing, by virtue of experiences, before implementing any technology, we need to ensure about the features of the security. What type of security features incorporated either into the new product or in the technology. We need to evaluate, the organization needs to evaluate about the security, mainly to sustain the business continuity. To pave a way for that, International Standards Organization designed and developed a framework ISO 42001 in 2023, mainly for AIMS, Artificial Intelligence and Management Systems, to perform security audit, as in the case of ISO 27001 for information security. ISO 42001 also links with the other international standards organizations like ISO 27000, ISO 9001 and etc. If the organization decides to go for AIMS implementation, they may need to evaluate about the security and they need to perform the security audit also. It is a vital information for to sustain the business continuity and to protect the data as well as information in the interest of the stakeholders. Today we would like to expose about the role of AI in cyber security as well as in data privacy. First, we would like to see about what is the role of AI in cyber security. Mainly, for the point number one, we need to protect the AI systems. When I'm talking about the protecting the AI systems, because AI models and trained data sets and as well as the AI infrastructure, they are the target for the cyber attackers. They may use data poisoning or AI model theft and adversarial machine learning attacks to do some kind of to do manipulation and AI models, the behavior of the AI models also may likely to interchange. They may try to do cyber security plays a way for that. We can use cyber security measures like encryption mechanism, mainly to encrypt the PII and SPI data. We may use encryption mechanism or access control mechanism or threat modeling to protect the IT assets. And when it comes to AI in cyber security, the point number one I can say, enhance the threat detection, because AI algorithms can analyze vast amount of data, mainly to detect vulnerabilities and threats on a higher scale, and the processing capacity is much more faster than compared to the human analysis. Next is proactive hunting. When I'm talking about the proactive hunting, AI predicts threats and vulnerabilities well in advance using the historical information, and also the data sets may get trained. AI can automate incident response, mainly to block the malicious IPs and as well as isolating the affected systems also. And AI can use the identity access management also. AI can use identity access management mainly for responsible for using the abnormal users accounts and as well as to detect the compromised accounts also. Mainly to recognize the abnormal users and to detect the compromised accounts. This is with respect to IAM. And on a 24/7 basis, AI models will be continuously monitored and tracked to mainly to reduce the risk. This is one thing. Whether integration of AI models with the existing security infrastructure is possible? Yes, of course. There is a possibility for integration of AI models with the existing security infrastructure, mainly to get some kind of maximum effectiveness. And addressing specific vulnerabilities. When I'm talking about the addressing specific vulnerabilities, users to be much more cautious. The AI models do some kind of manipulation and the behavioral pattern may change because of the adversarial machine learning attacks. This is with respect to the cyber security. Next we may likely to expose about the role of AI in data privacy. When it comes to the role of AI in data privacy, AI systems use large volume of data using the LLM models, like large language models. They use large language of data mainly to train the data sets, which includes personally identified information also and sensitive personal information also. But there are some serious concerns of this with respect to privacy. How the data gets stored, how the data has been collected, how the data has been transferred, and what is the retention mechanism has been adopted. All these factors will also have some kind of serious concerns when it comes to data privacy. When it comes to compliance factors, most of the European-based organizations already implemented GDPR, and US-based organizations in the state of California, they implemented a California Consumer Protection Act, mainly in line with the GDPR. Because country to country the data privacy principles may change. In India also we are going to implement shortly about the DPDP Act 2023, Digital Personal and Data Protection Act. But in case if the Indian organizations wants to have some kind of tie-up with the European-based organizations, then they need to adopt the GDPR principles also. In case if there is a violation, the penalty would be on the higher side. Similarly, in case if the Indian organization wants to have some kind of tie-up with the state of California, US-based organization, then they need to adopt the principles of CCPA, California Consumer Protection Act. Similarly, if the European organization wants to have some kind of tie-up with the Indian-based organization, at a later point of time, they need to comply with the DPDP rules and regulations as per the Indian Act. As I said earlier, country to country, the data privacy principles and protection may differ. This is with respect to the compliance, but they need to fulfill the statutory and the legal compliances. When it comes to transparency and accountability, for what purpose the end user needs to be more cautious, for what purpose the data has been collected, on what grounds the data has been processed, and what grounds the data has been archived or encrypted. All these factors they need to look into very seriously. They should have some kind of control on data. This mainly for the accountability purpose. When it comes to mitigation bias, AI models can throw a lot of biased information, and the output may leading to discriminative outcomes. They may need to use data anonymization and data pseudonymization techniques also. And when it comes to there is a privacy by design. Privacy by design means the sense the end users, when they are going to develop some kind of AI models, from the designing stage to development stage also, the data privacy principles needs to be embedded, and they need to use the data anonymization and pseudonymization techniques also from the designing stage to development stage, so that they will have some kind of control on data, and as well as some kind of security measures need to be deployed, and data needs to be masked. The major important thing is data needs to be masked. And organizations needs to form when it comes to data governance, organization needs to form a governance team. The purpose is they need to get a consent from the end users, from the data principals, before processing the raw data. Or the AI models need to process after getting a consent from the data principals. On what also they need to evaluate, the data governance team needs to evaluate on what grounds the data has been processed, whether the information has been communicated to the data principals once if the data gets processed, and whether the information has been passed on to the data principals, but how long they are going to store the data, and what is the retention mechanism has been taken into consideration. And once if the activity gets completed, whether the data gets removed from the repository. Once if it is removed from the repository, then also we need to communicate to the data principals. Again, if they want to reuse the existing data, then they need to get consent. Again, they need to get a consent from the data principals. All these data privacy principles needs to be adopted in line with the DPDP Act, GDPR, CCPA, as per the country specific. Also, data needs to be continuously monitored and tracked on a 24/7 basis. This is with respect to data privacy. When it comes to artificial intelligence management systems, AMS ISO 42000 use a structured approach mainly to manage risks and opportunities. When it comes to responsible AI, the information, the data is unbiased, it's accurate, and for accountability purpose also we may take it to consideration, and there is a fairness of data. Suppose if there is a fairness of data can be processed. For example, let us take I am taking the patient's data and I want to process the patient's data to do some kind of diagnosis. Once the data is accurate and once if it is diagnosed and there is some kind of unbiased, if the data is unbiased and is the fairness, then I can say it's a responsible AI because the data is accurate. When it comes to irresponsible AI, the data is inaccurate, it's biased, and the output is discriminative outcomes. It's not accurate. Even if once the data has been diagnosed, data has been processed and diagnosed, the results outcome is not clear. It's an inaccurate. I can say it's an inaccurate. It's irresponsible AI. And also compliance factor, governance laws and compliance needs to be taken into consideration. When it comes to life cycle of the data management, from the designing stage till to the decommissioning stage, the data needs to be continuously monitored and tracked for the benefit of the stakeholders. To conclude it, the role of AI in cyber security and as well as the role of AI in data privacy plays a major role on this, and because the privacy, the PII and SPI data needs to be protected on all angles. And also when it comes to auditors' role on ISO 42001, auditors needs to be interplay with cyber security, data privacy, risk assessment, risk assessment mainly to get some kind of fruitfulness on the security audit. And also auditors needs to continuously evaluate the AI models and do a periodical audit on a continual basis. And also they need to provide some kind of fruitful recommendations for the board, for the top management, what type of preventive actions need to be taken instead of taking the corrective actions. The auditors roles play a major role on AMS in the interest of the stakeholders. And auditors needs to evaluate, and awareness and training program also needs to take into consideration by the top management. And auditors also needs to do some kind of focusing on training on AI models, and as well as for the benefit for the internal and external stakeholders. Auditors needs to conduct some kind of awareness and training program on a periodical basis, as in the case of ISO 42001. And periodically mainly to sustain the business continuity and to protect the data as well as information in the interest of the stakeholders. Thank you.